Welcome to the chaos that is NFL free agency. Today, we are breaking down all the biggest moves that will have the biggest impact on fantasy football. What we'll do is I will throw out a free agent move, and then we'll each give our thoughts on if their fantasy stock went up or down or relatively neutral. I'll go division by division, and we'll start with the Buffalo Bills. Gabe Davis traded away. Other than that, not many moves. But with Gabe gone, how do we think that impacts, Dalton Kincaid, Diggs, and maybe Khalil Shakir?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bills are primed to go for another receiving target in the draft now, which is obviously going to affect some of what we say here, but definitely boost Kincaid's stock. You already saw him coming on at the end of the year, kind of, I mean, as that second option above Gabe Davis, which is probably why they were pretty comfortable with letting him go. And depending on who they take in the draft, whether that's like a second round guy or day two guy, even, you could see Khalil Shakir stock going up too, because I mean, he had some pretty breakout games at the end of the year as well. In terms of Diggs, I don't know that it changes a whole lot on his fantasy stock. I feel like Gabe and Diggs's route trees and targets and places on the field were pretty different. They filled pretty different holes. So more targets, a little bit more targets might get filtered Diggs' way, but I don't see it drastically changing his fantasy stock per se. But yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought. Diggs neutral, Kincaid gets a boost in fantasy, and Shakir temporarily, just because we don't know, like we don't have their draft pick yet. So temporary boost, but yeah, just wait and see on the draft for them. You guys have any other thoughts on
I think
the trade?
I think Shakir. I think they let go of Gabe because I think they like Shakir a lot. Obviously it's dependent on the draft, but I think they're okay with Khalil Shakir filling that hole of what Gabe left. So I think he gets a big boost. Definitely be interested to see where he goes. Especially if they don't get someone to like the fourth or fifth round. Um, then he's more experienced than a rookie. And you never know what you're gonna get in the draft. So I like him and Diggs. Again, I think it's neutral for Diggs, as long as he can get over kind of the prima donna stuff. But I think it and Kincaid, yeah, neutral. I think he gets a little bit of boost, but yeah, I think it kind of neutral for everyone.
Yeah, I think I'm only gonna throw Shakir into underdog formats. I don't know if he has the upside either way with like a season-long fantasy format for me. So get some exposure there, but otherwise pretty much unchanged for me.
Okay. We'll move on to the Miami Dolphins. Only move they really made, they trade away Gesicki and they signed Jonnu Smith. Mike McDaniel loves his fast weapons, Tyreek Hill, Waddle. Now you have the super athletic Jonnu Smith. Um, I personally think that, talking season long, you're not probably taking, someone like Jonnu Smith, but playing best ball, I think he is a pretty solid late round pick if you're going like three tight ends or something. He just has a lot of upside, and we saw him even on the Falcons with Pitts have some big weeks. So you could expect some spike weeks for sure, I think, with the Dolphins.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, explosive offense too. I mean, something that didn't change necessarily through free agency, but I think just going into this season to think about with the Dolphins too is A Chain. I think is going to be the feature back over Mostert going into this year, at least significantly more than he was last year. So obviously not a free agency change there, but I think his stock is boosted going into the both best ball and redraft formats.
I don't know if John Smith. Oh God, I can't speak. Uh, I don't know. I mean, the Dolphins never utilized tight ends, and it's not like Gesicki was a bad tight end. Like, and John Smith is like older now. Like, I don't know how much that really helps them. It benefits. I mean, it's more
He's
like
28. He's like
Why are we
still.
talking about Gasecki? He was on the Patriots.
I think he was on the Dolphins.
No, 2 years ago.
Durham Smith was their starter.
Smythe.
Oh, you're right. I don't know. I messed that one up then. I forgot. You're right. Okay,
Close to change reaction, my brain there, PB. But regardless, they didn't utilize any tight ends. So
They didn't.
until I can see like maybe some uptick, like maybe a flyer in best ball, but I don't think it really does much, honestly.
Yeah, I personally will have Jonnu Smith in my best ball portfolio. He just has that spike week upside. Like he did it with Pitts on the Falcons with Ritter. Like I think with Tua, he's gonna have some big weeks. Um, okay, moving on. We got the New York Jets. Nothing to really add here. Like maybe Garrett Wilson takes a dock if Aaron Rodgers is vice president with RFK, but outside of that, there's nothing to talk about with the Jets. There's no moves. So moving on to the Patriots. There was quite a few moves made by the Patriots. They get rid of Parker. They're looking to get rid of Juju. They re-signed Hunter Henry to a pretty nice contract. So you have to imagine they still have plans for him. Kendrick Bourne, they re-signed. So, and then they signed Jacoby Brissett, but we do expect them to take a quarterback, whether that's Jaden McDaniels or did I say is it
Daniels.
Daniels. No
McDaniels,
Mick.
Jaden Daniels or Drake May. So, and then Antonio Gibson has a little bit of a deal with them. So, how do you guys take all that in with the Patriots?
I mean, it depends who's playing quarterback. I mean, if it's the
But
brisket, if it's the brisket, I mean, in general, like what they're doing with their offense is like, I think it's pretty mute at this point in time. I mean, it really doesn't hold any significant value. Like they didn't really bring in anyone to really bolster that offense. They're just kind of all like journeymen at this point in time. And like I think Kendrick Bourne getting re-signed is obviously their most unique and best weapon right now.
I think
Um,
Hunter Henry gets the biggest boost.
I
It has to be. They get rid of Gesicki now that I know. Completely forgot that he was a Patriot, not a Dolphin. He is the only tight end there. He got how much? He got Hunter Henry got 3 years, 27 million. I mean, and they got rid of Parker. They're gonna probably getting rid of Juju. They wanted one of these free agents, whether that's T or Calvin Ridley, but it may not happen. So it's like Hunter Henry is for filling that tight end spot. I think is again in best ball. I like it more, but I think he's a guy I'm gonna have. I had plenty of him last year. I think I'll have plenty of him again this year.
Yeah, a guy who definitely took a downgrade though from last year is Ramondre. Antonio Gibson
Yeah.
is clearly he's a third down back, pass catcher type of guy. So, we saw Ramondre going, I think, in like the third round last year, because everyone was anticipating him just being like a volume monster. And that is clearly not going to be the case. See a ton of offenses this offseason going to committee backfields, and the Patriots following suit there. So he definitely is downgraded,
Yes,
from
absolutely.
both best ball and season long.
Yeah, I think for the Patriots, Alex Van Pelt and Jared Mayo, both new coaches stepping in there. Sounds like they're going to run a West Coast offense. So AVP came from the Browns. We obviously saw what Njoku did. So I think that lends itself quite nicely to Hunter Henry's season.
Yeah, Bourne. I also do
And
think
Kendrick Bourne, yeah, out of the slot.
deserves a boost, and I
We'll
was
see who
gonna.
the wide receiver one is.
Yeah. So okay. Moving on to the next, we're gonna go through. We're gonna start with the Ravens here. The Ravens. I mean, a lot of people think this is one of the biggest moves. These like big names always command all the attention. We got Derrick Henry. They get rid of Gus Edwards, and you know, obviously this has to boost his stock. I mean, I don't see any other way around that.
yeah, I mean, it's a significantly better position being with the Ravens and the Titans. Good offensive line, run heavy offense. Yeah, I mean, continue to be that 3 down back that he can be. Maybe takes a little, out of the receiving game, but I mean, we saw kind of late these last couple of years, he's kind of done better in the passing game than he previously has. But I mean, an
Just
offensive
the
running
rushing
back,
volume in the Ravens offense. Like he's gonna
yeah,
get they already wanted to take the load off of Lamar around the goal line during the regular season last year, and you have to imagine Henry is just gonna just eat on the goal line. And this is what so I've done some of early drafts. This is like obviously before the Henry to the Ravens news. So, but he was going in the end of the fifth round, around 60 ADP. Where do you think he kind of falls? Like
uh,
where do you think
right
by
now
like
he
time of
is,
draft?
or
That's
just
like
like
where he was like right before the Ravens news. That's like where when he was still a Titan and people didn't know where he was going to go. He was going the end of the fifth.
but he
Like where do you think
goes.
he settles in by time end of August, September?
I say
Third,
probably,
fourth round.
yeah, I'd say end of third, early fourth.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely an improved offensive line. I don't think volume was an issue for him at all in Tennessee. So expect some of the same there. But, offensive line should help. I think the dual threat with Lamar might take a little pressure off him, but he's still going to be facing a lot of stacked boxes because of that. Um, I could see him being a very touchdown dependent fantasy player with 50, 60 yards types of games and maybe a few breakout games. But I think his upside with his age is somewhat limited in my perspective.
Yeah. Injury risk obviously goes up older. So his workload he's had in his career and
Yeah.
age.
He just
So,
doesn't get a
but
lot of volume in the passing game. So,
yeah, if he stays healthy though, like obviously he has 15 to 20 touchdown upside, like guaranteed. Like he can just absolutely wreck with the
You can be like
touchdowns.
the new Legarrette.
Yeah, I was gonna say like when Blunt like was in the twilight and he still was just racking up those touchdowns. Okay, next we got the Cleveland Browns. Um, Only one guy to really talk about here. That's Jerry Jeudy, who they
they've,
traded for him, right?
yeah, they traded, I think, a fifth and a sixth round pick for him. We
pennies.
made a huge push for him at the end of last year's trade deadline. Couldn't get a deal done. And they finally get their speedster. For years, they've been looking just to get kind of a home run player that could hit on some streak routes and stretch the field. So they finally get their guy. I'm excited to see what they could do. There's also been a lot of rumors, like maybe with Nick Chubb's injury, that they want to move to a very pass heavy offense. So it's good to see them investing in that approach. I think it probably helps Deshaun Watson quite a bit to have, in my opinion, now three really great targets with Amari Cooper, who I think gets knocked down a little bit here, um, Jerry Jeudy, and Njoku. So I think, I'll probably have some shares of all three of them. I think the biggest loser in this is Elijah Moore is no longer a viable flyer. He was kind of a fringe guy last year. Everyone was hoping on, never really panned out. And I think in this situation now, he's pretty much in the fantasy irrelevant bin for the time being.
Do you think they even keep him?
They're going to keep him, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think his contract's up. I think he might have one more year.
Okay.
We'll see how good Jerry Jeudy is. I mean, you see what the Broncos valued him at. I mean, fifth and sixth round. I mean, that's pennies on where they took him. So, I mean, maybe a new system, new city will kind of revive him, and maybe
Yeah.
obviously staying healthy is a big issue for him. But obviously, I think it helps Deshaun Watson's case. Like, I mean, now if Deshaun Watson fails, I mean, it's
Yeah.
a bad quarterback
He
now.
has no
So,
excuse now.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the guy that Nick, the only guy I agreed with everything Nick said on who was negatively and positively impacted, but Deshaun Watson, I think, is benefits the most from the Judy signing. So,
Can't believe you didn't say anything about Jameis Winston.
I mean, I don't know what there is to say. He's still a backup.
I mean, Watson doesn't like to play against good teams, so we'll probably see a decent amount of Winston.
For your sake, I hope so. Maybe you
Can't
better
believe
hope
I have
so.
to be a Jameis Winston fan now. It's just like the irony is it's too good.
No, you
I'm
don't
so
hope.
mad that he went there. Okay. Next, we got the Bengals. They, T. Higgins, they franchise tagged, but he's demanding a trade, so he's probably not going to be there. Boyd is most likely gone. They sign Mike Gesicki. They get rid of Mixon and
Cut
sign
Mixon.
Zach.
Crazy.
What?
They cut Mixon.
No, they
Like they
ended
could
up
have got
they ended up
something.
trading him for like a
They
seventh
trade.
rounder.
Oh, they did? All right.
Yeah.
Basically
Um,
cut.
and then Zach Moss, goes there, and they still obviously have what Travion Williams and Chase Brown, so that's kind of their backfield. But we do expect Zach Moss to be, their main back. So, what do you guys think? My initial thoughts would be Zach Moss gets a pretty sizable boost in fantasy. Like he's now the Bengals lead back. And then with T gone, Boyd gone, I think Yosevas gets a boost.
I
For now.
And I know they
yeah,
probably draft maybe they draft like a weapon depending on if they get anyone else through a trade or rest of free agency, but temporarily, like I think and Burrow likes the guy. Like he's been vocal about saying that he likes this guy. He's been productive when he's had opportunities.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean his volume goes up right now, but like you said, it really just depends on who else they bring in. Like you said, when he was on the field, he was productive. I mean, he won me some doll hairs across the weeks, picking up him and DFS and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, Zach Moss definitely boosted Colts guy. Um, he was crazy. Like he was so bad in Buffalo, and then he comes to Indianapolis, has a pretty good year with the Colts, and and earned himself a contract. Good for him. Um, I think he's more of like I don't think he can carry the load by himself. So, obviously still a big boost because he will be the premier back, but I don't think it's going to be as big as we think.
What do you mean?
I don't. I think halfway through the season, we're going to be looking at like, I mean, he's just a guy. I mean, he had good games with the Colts, but then he had some really, I don't think he's like,
Yeah, I know you don't have to remind me of chalk Zach Moss when he's like 50% owned and he just completely busted, which
yeah.
few of those I did fade him, but yeah, I definitely was
I'm just
on.
saying, like, I don't think he can carry a full season workload. So I think it's a smaller boost. I think it's just a different jersey, same name.
I think this hurts Joe Burrow the most out of anyone for a quarterback who's so dependent on getting fantasy points through the air. He loses a huge red zone target and T. Higgins. Um, I think that, I mean, he basically lost his wide receiver 2 and 3. I don't know where you put Irv Smith in the tight end rankings, but
You can't.
um,
Hey, Boyd, the Higgins was the biggest loss, but I don't think
for sure. But I
Boyd
think
hurt.
they're definitely worse off without him for sure.
But they most likely are getting a weapon in the draft, whether that's Brock Bowers, whether that's one of these receivers. Like
Yeah, I
they're
don't
gonna
think they're
get.
going to be able to get Bowers unless they trade up for him. But I could see them getting a wide receiver, and I think that's fine for Burrow. But as of now, I think he's the biggest loser.
Okay. All right. Next, we got the Steelers make a big splash with Russ Wilson and trading away Deontay. And this kind of the only guy this really, I think the only guy really impacted is, George Pickens, especially with like how Russ likes to play. I think he gets a pretty nice boost.
Yeah, I mean, I also think they're going to lean on the run significantly more this year. Like they were already super run heavy. One of those run the ball, control the clock, play tough defense. So I think that taking out a receiver for them, depending on what they do in the draft, they're usually a defensive kind of draft team. I could
They just
see,
got Patrick Queen.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they're loading up on defense, and I think that could positively impact Warren and Najee a little bit. I don't, I still think it's tough to throw that dart week to week in a season long. But in terms of best ball, I think both guys are pretty viable this year, just from volume alone. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters who ends up being the starting quarterback there. I think they're relying on the run a ton with those two
Yeah.
backs.
Yeah, I think their upside is what we saw in Detroit last year with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, from the running aspect. I mean, Russ did pretty solid last year, whether you like it or not. So I think, George Pickens is getting a huge upgrade. We saw him have some really crazy games, and now that they take Deontay out of it, um, I think Pickens could be a fringe wide receiver one.
Whoa, then I don't know if I go that far, but I mean,
I think he's a very good talent.
no, I
Like
agree. I like Pickens coming out of
Russ
the
can
draft,
actually
but
throw the ball like
yeah, I
whoever
agree.
they
Like,
had in there last year, like
but
with
wide
injuries and
receiver
everything.
one
Like,
is a stretch to me, but
you don't think he could be a top 25 receiver?
oh, that would be a wide receiver two. Wide receiver one is a top 12 receiver in fantasy to me, but I do
Okay,
think he could be a top 24. Um,
top two. All right. What? All right. If we're going by that logic, then I just think top 25 is easy for him
oh,
now.
that's how I think of wide receiver one. But anyway, yeah, I think, when you take out someone like what they were, like Kenny Pickett and you had a guy like, I mean, the offense with Russ Wilson is going to improve, meaning everyone else is stuck, especially with Deontay gone. Like, it's just going to improve everyone. Like, everyone, in my opinion, got better with Russ Wilson going there. Okay. Next, we have moving on to the next division. We got the Texans. Singletary is gone. They sign Mixon. So I don't know. I think like Mixon, when he was going to be just released, like obviously his stock was just going to tank. Like, how is it going to get, as good as the Bengals? But like, if he's going to be a bell cow, like who else is even there? It's
Damian
just
Pierce.
like,
Pierce.
yeah, and they
They
hated
don't.
him. So,
Yeah,
and
which is wild.
how is Mixon not going to at least like he catches passes? Like, I don't know. To me, his stock is pretty high still. Like, it's
Yeah.
kind of like remains where it
Yeah,
was, where if it would have been on the Bengals.
he kind of went to like the young Bengals. Like
Yeah.
the Texans offense is made up very similarly play style to like what the Bengals were producing the last couple of years, right? They've got their ex receiver in Nico, they've got their speedster in Tank Dell, and that Singletary had a great year last year for them. I don't know what happened to Pierce.
Singletary is like not even that great of a running
No,
back.
no, he's not. And I don't know what happened to Pierce after that great rookie campaign that he had. I mean, obviously coaching changes and stuff, guys play their favorite guys and what works in new schemes is different than what worked before. So, but yeah, no, I think Mixon ended up in as good of a position as he could have given where he came from.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's actually a slight upgrade. D'Amico Ryan's, he's coming out of the Shanahan, San Francisco type of run-heavy offense. So I think Mixon's a big step forward talent-wise, even though he's a little bit older from Singletary. So I could see him, really leading that offense quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to be the only guy there, then yeah, he's going to be, featured and he's going to get an uptick. But yeah, I mean, coming from where Cincinnati, where he basically had the whole backfield to himself, to unless the Texans bring in someone, um, to relieve him, because it looks like Damian Pierce is. I mean, he's probably out the door. I mean, I can't imagine them trying to keep him around. I can see him getting traded to the team, even released. So we'll see what happens with him.
Yep. All right. Next, we got the Jaguars, who the only fantasy relevant guy to really talk about. Well, maybe a few is well, first, Gabe Davis. They did, give him a nice payday. And I think, coming from the Bills, obviously, as the wide receiver too, it can't be like too much of upgrade because like Christian Kirk's still there, Evan Ingram's still there. It's sounding like they want Ridley, so it's like I don't think it can be an upgrade, but they like I don't know. I still think that is at least neutral, moving from where he was with the Bills
Yeah.
to the Jags.
Yeah, I think he fills a similar role for that team, right? Like, I don't think they keep Zay Jones. It's kind of a similar comp that was there already, and you know, I think everyone understands what Gabe Davis does well, and I think that's what he'll continue to
Dropping the
get
ball.
used with. Was the drop in the ball? um, so yeah, I think it's kind of like a similar to like a Mixon situation where it's like, all right, you're kind of you're making somewhat of a lateral move to like a similar level of team, similar level of play. Um, so yeah, I think it's fairly neutral for Gabe. Um, Probably hurts Kirk a little bit, depending on if they keep Ridley or not. But Ridley was a crapshoot last year, so that offense is at least in my opinion pretty hard to figure out from a fantasy perspective right now.
Yeah, if Ridley does stay, then I would say it kind of like it has to kind of like bring everyone down just slightly because there's four
On
guys. I mean,
football, yeah,
and ETN
yeah.
like who can catch the ball. So it's just there's
Who
too many mouths to feed.
Right. Who they did say too, obviously not free agent dependent again, but Peterson did say that they were going to really work to ease the load on him during the regular season. So something just to keep an eye on ETN.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's obviously a downgrade at quarterback too. I mean, I think Josh Allen obviously is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence is right now. Yeah, I think in general understanding and scheme, it's just like Alex said, a lateral move at this point in time. Yeah, they bring in Calvin again, which I'd be surprised if they do. But yeah,
It
I don't.
seems like they're going to as of now. But
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence is the only one who actually might have an uptick from this move, in
yeah,
my perspective.
okay, that's who would benefit the most. You're
Yeah,
right. Just like with the Watson thing, I think Trevor Lawrence would get the biggest boost in
yeah.
fantasy
He's going to have a lot of good
Ridley's
targets and guys that are proven. So I think he's the winner
For
there.
himself.
for
Everyone
sure.
else, I don't know.
Yeah,
You got to take maybe some flyers if you're going to get some Lawrence exposure, but
right. But yeah, you're right. Lawrence definitely gets the biggest boost. Okay. Uh Colts, there's nothing to talk about there. And then the Titans, they
I
why
mean,
are you
nothing new. You re-signed Pittman.
yeah, like what's you act
Nothing
like
new.
I'm
Come
like
on,
targeting your team.
just give us some credit.
Okay.
Resign our guys.
Okay. The Titans, they get Tony Pollard from the Cowboys after getting rid of Henry. So you got Pollard and Tyjae Spears there. I'm personally still going to be high. Like the Titans love to run the ball. They're trying to boost their offensive line in the draft and some of the free agent signings they've made. Tyjae, I think they still want to be kind of their pass catching kind of guy, even though Pollard can too. I just think they gave Pollard like enough money.
I think it's a
And
huge win for Pollard.
yeah, I personally will be, in on Pollard this year. And I think he's gonna go after getting traded from the Cowboys, which people like are much higher on as a whole with an offense, going to the Titans, which people aren't really high on that team. I just think he's gonna go late enough in drafts that I'm still gonna be very high on Pollard.
Yeah.
I
Let's
mean,
not forget their terrible QB situation. Like they're going to have to lean on the run if they want to move the ball. That's Vrabel's way too. So
it's not there anymore.
who's their
Remember?
new guy? You're right. I forgot he got
I don't know
it.
who they hired actually. Now that you mention it,
Oh, why can't I think?
um,
Is it Callahan?
from while we're looking that up, from like a drafting perspective, I can see how Pollard still has some value, but I don't know that I would consider his move to the Titans a positive for his.
Brian Callahan.
Thank you. Uh, I don't know that I would consider his move to the Titans as a positive move for his upside. I mean, the Cowboys have one of the best O lines in the league, high powered offense. I think the Titans are just going to see 5 guys in the box nonstop, and they're gonna do everything they can to take away the run every single play. So uh, I also think we saw Tajay coming on at the end of last year. You know, they were obviously phasing out Henry and knew that they were going to move on from him in the offseason. So, you want to see what you got out of your rookie. And
Yeah, but they just paid Pollard like 8 million a year.
right. No, I get that. But like, I, I think that he's in more of a split backfield than he was with the Cowboys. I think that he's got a significantly worse line and a significantly worse offense to
But the difference is we were drafting Pollard in the second round. That my
right.
point is like, yeah, we're talking like last year and where he was going in drafts. My point is like he's now gonna be like a instead of a second, third round pick, he's gonna be like a seventh, eighth round pick.
Right.
And
Right. Which is
to
why I
me,
said
that
like
is
I understand from like a draft perspective, like taking some
yeah.
chances on him that late for how talented of a guy he is, but just in terms of like uh an off-season move, I think it's a
Yeah,
down.
I was just talking purely from a fantasy perspective. I'm high on him. I don't
Yeah.
think he's in like a better situation or anything like that. I just think from a fantasy perspective, I gotta be
Yeah,
high on it.
maybe. I mean, I don't know if I mean in that range of where running backs go, there's not much to choose from right now. But I mean, kind of like Alex saying, the situation did not get better for him at all. Got worse, in my opinion. Um, unless the Titans can really figure out the offensive line. I mean, even with Derrick Henry, who is like in between tackle running back, like unless they're scheming up a new offense in Tennessee, which they very well could be. I mean, Derrick Henry only had 4 games over 100 yards. So even with the volume that he's running at, and now you add Tajay Spears in there to the mix with Tony P, where he's going, I mean, will really determine how much I grab of him. But I mean, he didn't show a lot in Dallas. I mean, I know he was hurt. Um, I think it doesn't really do much to his stock. I mean, if anything, it brings it down more. Which if you like him like PB does, then it's good for you. But if you're just kind of like mute situation, like, oh, if he's there, you grab him, like really see who is around him and who might be in a better situation.
Yeah, I think to me it's also in a part of the draft that I like to target, which is I like to hammer those receivers early and then kind of start to get my RB. I would be perfectly fine with Tony Pollard as like my if I was really doing like zero RB, like my RB1, and I'd just be loaded up at tight end, quarterback, receiver, and yeah, I don't know. To me, he's a guy I'll probably be targeting heavy. But yeah, I think Tajay is the biggest loser because he was kind of expected to be more featured, and now that's kind of off the table. All right, next we got the Chiefs, but I mean, there's not really. I mean, they got Irv Smith. I don't really think there's a whole lot to talk about there.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Raiders, they get Minshew. It's still possible they maybe make a move in the draft or they get a Justin Fields or someone like that. But to me, I don't think anyone that they, whether it's Minshew, Fields, someone in the draft, like Adams, I feel like is just, he's getting older, but I don't think his draft stock is like negatively or positively impacted too much. He's still going to be the wide receiver one, have a big target share.
I actually think if Minshew's the guy, he's in a better position than he was last year. Like I prefer Minshew throwing the ball over Aiden O'Connell any day of the week. And for a guy who's quarterback proof, I think he's getting an upgrade there. I mean, we'll see what they do in the draft. We'll see what they do if they go after another guy. I think the biggest winner on the Raiders offense was Zamir White, though. Uh, you know, they get rid of
Oh yeah,
Josh.
why? I'm an idiot. I didn't
Yeah.
even.
Yeah, no Josh Jacobs is huge.
That's for
Yeah.
sure the biggest impact.
And so when Jacobs went down last year too with that injury, I mean, Zamir White stepped into that bell cow role immediately, and was seeing the same featured role that Josh Jacobs was, which is probably why they felt totally fine letting him go, letting him walk. Um, so yeah, I think Zamir White's the biggest winner on the Raiders. I think Devontae gets a slight uptick. He's obviously getting older, but hasn't had any sort of major injuries or anything like that. Doesn't take a ton of giant hits. So I think he's still going to be who he is, which is an alpha receiver. Um, but yeah, I don't think there's anything else notable on their offense.
Yeah, I mean, Minshew is definitely an upgrade over Aiden O'Connell, but Minshew does not throw the ball down the field at all. So, and I know Adams is older now. So I don't know. I mean, in like 2022, I mean, that was still with Rodgers. He had um he had 10 touchdowns over 25 yards. So like that was 2 years ago. I couldn't find the stat for like the last couple of years with the Raiders. I would assume it's definitely obviously not that high, but I mean, Minshew doesn't push the ball down the field. So impactfulness on Adams, I think it's again kind of neutral. Um, Obviously Zamir takes the uptick. But unless they bring in someone who's pushing the ball down the field, I mean, I love Minshew. Don't get me wrong. Well deserved contract there, but I don't know how much fantasy value he brings to the receiving core. Now, if he turns into like the Michael Pittman role and he's just playing in the middle of the field, you know, and with his age going up and just eating up targets, I think it's going to be, it could really significantly boost Devontae Adams' stock. So, really just depends kind of the role that he takes on being a little bit older now.
I think the Raiders are going to be absolutely terrible this year. They got Luke Getsy as their offensive coordinator, who was just miserable in Chicago. I'm not going to take anyone on the Raiders. I don't care what they get in the draft unless they
I
trade.
think you'll be making a mistake if you don't take any Zamir White, but because he's just going to go late enough in drafts. Like he'll climb, like he'll probably go maybe around that Tony Pollard range, and it's just going to be the perfect range to target running backs this year, in my opinion. And I'll probably have, a good amount of Zamir White. We'll see what they do in the draft, but I don't see why they'd be targeting running backs in the draft.
Yeah, I think he's a guy I'd take over Tony Pollard in that range.
Yeah, I like them both, but yeah, maybe slightly because it's going to be like his backfield.
Right.
Um, okay. All right, that's the Raiders. Now we got the Chargers. They move on from Eckler. They sign Gus Edwards, which that's an immediate that like with the run heavy approach, you'd have to imagine that's a pretty big boost to Gus. They might add someone in the draft as well, so then that would put him in a committee again. But well, what do you think? I,
I
do you,
expect them to add like a round 2, round 3 guy.
yeah,
The
maybe
running back
maybe it
class
is a
is
if we're forecasting a draft pick of a running back by the Chargers, maybe it is a downgrade because like obviously he was on the Ravens, which is a great run heavy team as well. So it's like, well, it just depends on where he's going in drafts. Like right now he is going really, really late. So we'll see what he climbs to. I'll probably definitely sprinkle in some Gus because we think they're gonna have a very run heavy approach.
yeah. And along those lines, I think, along with age, a guy like Keenan Allen and
Mike.
who's the other
Mike
guy?
Williams.
Williams. Um, I think just given the new coaching staff approach, I think both of those guys take a little bit of a hit as well. Obviously, you still got Herbert slinging the ball, so I'm not going to like
One of
downgrade
them is going to be gone too. One of
before the season.
Mike or Keenan Allen will be gone.
So yeah, um, but yeah, I just think offensively, I do see them taking a running back and being that run heavy defense that we saw out of Michigan. Run
I
heavy.
just, for whatever reason, I just think Blake Corum is just such a lock to go there. He had so much success with Harbaugh in Michigan. I think he goes and gets his guy in the NFL. So I'm not as high on Gus Edwards because I'm just playing along with that thesis. He absolutely crushed the combine, and he was putting up just as many bench reps as O
That was-
linemen.
that was
So
wild.
I also I really don't know if we can forecast the Chargers being a super run heavy offense. I know
I think you definitely can.
Do you,
Greg
do,
Roman.
Look at what they did with their offensive coordinator. Like
Greg
they
Roman.
they just signed
Greg Roman,
they
thank you.
get rid of Eckler, they get Gus and they sign Will Disley, who's like a blocking tight end. I mean, it does seem like they do want
Harbaugh's
to.
always had a run heavy offense.
Yeah,
You
if
get
you go back,
Greg Roman, like the schematics would
They're
make
gonna
things.
get Joe Alt probably with their first pick. Like if you see them get Joe Alt, like that just points like when especially when like neighbors could be there or they could get Bowers. That I think that draft pick kind of is a tell on like what maybe like if they get neighbors or Bowers, it's like okay, well maybe they will be a little more pass heavy than we thought. They go Joe Alt, it's like they're really gonna be establishing that run.
I
I
mean,
think they
yeah, they
still
want to
need to
asustablish
figure
a
out the
run, but
receivers.
like you have
But like
Justin
more than they
Herbert.
have in the past of the
You're
Chargers.
not
The
They have
gonna. You're
Chargers
no
not
good wide
playing it.
receivers. Like Keenan Allen is a
Keenan Allen is
old
good.
hamstring away from
one of those guys
ending
is going
his
to be
career.
gone. I can tell you that
I
much.
Mike
I
Williams
think that,
can't stay on the field for half of a season if his life depended on it. And Quentin Johnson's been the worst wide receiver
1 year.
drafted in the first round in like 3 years.
He had a. It was a rookie year. I mean, you got to. I mean, I understand he's a first
Not
round
a
pick.
rookie year, dude. He had Justin Herbert throwing him the ball with every opportunity in the world, and he did nothing.
Okay, I'm just saying I don't know if you can forecast them to be strictly run heavy offense with Justin Herbert as quarterback. I just don't see that happening. I see it being more balanced and not letting Justin Herbert just get absolutely rocked in the backfield and like coming out like an Andrew Luck situation where you're just getting your franchise quarterback just absolutely obliterated. But yeah, the moves they've made have signified that they're wanting to be more balanced. I wouldn't say move completely to run heavy. They don't have like a rushing quarterback like the Ravens did. So like you have to utilize a passing quarterback like that. So yes, will they be more run like geared towards running? But probably, but I'm not gonna be like, this team's all about running the ball now. Like I don't think that's the move. Yes, I do agree with PB. Keenan Allen or Mike Williams will be gone, but I think they fix that in the draft. So
I would
Okay.
like to see them go get neighbors, personally.
I, I don't, yeah, I mean,
But
we'll see that. I think that first pick is a tell on what their
I
plans
agree
are.
with you. That's a good approach.
Um, okay, next we got the Broncos, Russ gone, Judy gone. To me, I mean, you got right now, you have what, Aiden O'Connell?
do they
Or
get?
no, Jared Stidham, not Aaron
Seven.
O'Connell.
same
Jared
person, just a
Stidham.
different name.
Yeah,
Yeah. Jared Stidham is their quarterback. Obviously, they're still probably trying to make a move in free agency, whether that's Fields, whoever, and they could get someone in the draft, like JJ McCarthy. If they really move up, maybe. But JJ McCarthy seems like maybe the more likely quarterback if they get someone in the draft. To me, Sutton stock's down at like just based off of like what he did last year and not having Russ. And Mims is someone that I think his stock is up. You're gonna want some Marvin Mims based off of how late he's gonna go this year, in my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Sean Payton said like the coaching staff was basically his limitations last year. Like it wasn't his skill, it wasn't what he was doing in practice, none of that. It was like they did not use him correctly. So when a coach says that, you got to imagine that they're gonna try and back that up and
And they
utilize
trade
him.
Judy, so it's like
And they got rid of Judy exactly.
Interested to
so
see who they brings in as quarterback.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
going to be a big.
That
I
offense
just
could
to
become
me, there's no quarterback that really is available. Fields, they signed McCarthy, who I'm not high on. Like nobody's gonna make me want to take Sutton this year, which sucks. I like Sutton, but probably be more out on him. All right. Next, we got the Cowboys. Not really much to talk about here. They trade Pollard. I mean, we know they're gonna get a running back. It's not. I mean, we highly doubt it's gonna be Rico Dowdle, as they're not gonna roll into the season with
Well,
Rico.
Deuce Vaughn,
Yeah, I mean, these
I
guys
think
are
five
gonna
foot
take.
four.
I think they're gonna take Jonathan Brooks. Keep the Texas boy at home.
I don't know because he's coming off an injury. I think they want a guy they could just go to right away.
I think Braylon Allen would be kind of a fun one there. Big
But
bruiser running back from Wisconsin.
sticking to free agency though, it's like there's not really anyone for the Cowboys we can really talk about. Eagles. This one's just pretty obvious. I mean, Saquon, he's got to take a boost there.
Big
Massive.
boost.
Big boost.
Probably the
Yeah,
biggest move in free agency so far as like fantasy impact goes. I mean,
Yeah.
no Jason Kelsey, but I still think they're a top 5 offensive line. Obviously, dual threat. You can't stack the box on the Eagles. Otherwise, you got the Slim Reaper and A.J. Brown just going to burn you down the field. So it's going to open up a lot for Saquon. And I think he's probably had to face defenses just scheming to stop him every single week. You know, like with Danny Dimes, it was just like, all right, stop Saquon and we win this game. And he's going to see some more opportunities for the first time in his career where, you know, he can catch a defense off guard for once. So I'm excited for Saquon. Well deserved. Fought back from a lot of injuries
Yeah,
and
we we
himself
we
on a
played this
Super Bowl
game
contender.
a few weeks ago when we were doing our ADP predictions, and I was like, if Saquon goes to the Ravens, where do you think you draft him? So he's an Eagle. Where do you think you draft him? Like, do you think he's a first round pick? I don't think he's worth a first rounder yet. I don't think I would take him in the first.
Second round for sure.
I think he's a turn guy. I think he can
Yeah,
go fringe one.
I think
first
he's
guy for
a
me.
early mid second. That's like where I would take him probably.
I mean, I think he I don't think you see as much as Jalen Hurts running. They want Jalen Hurts to stay healthy. Obviously, he wasn't healthy last year. Saquon does that. Swift was good when he had the opportunities like to be utilized, and now you basically exchange him for Saquon, who's tenfold better running back than he
Yeah, but we
is.
were getting Swift in like the seventh, eighth round.
No, I understand where you're getting him, and like, but I still think he pays off his price tag at that place. I mean, I'm pretty high on Saquon.
Walk me through this because I almost want to jump to a crazy place. So talk me out of it a little bit.
What crazy
Um,
place are you going to?
well, I'm going to tell you. All right. So between CMC and Saquon, like pretty similar talents, right? Both
Yeah.
on run heavy offenses.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think the Eagles have a better offensive line. So
Yeah.
why are we rationalizing a CMC pick if he has a worse offensive line,
Jalen Hurts.
same offense,
Jalen
and
Hurts.
you think that's the only
That
difference?
is the only difference because
Taking away goal
taking
line
away
touchdowns?
many, many, many touchdowns.
Yeah, like 19 last year or something crazy. Um,
I think CMC's
all right.
receiving.
But no Kelsey this year. So maybe tush push isn't as effective.
I I think they'll be doing the tush push just fine. But
Yeah,
Now that they have a big bruise and running back, I don't like
Saquon and
Saquon
Hurts.
can only help the tush push.
Yeah, they collectively squat like 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, like Saquon actually does help the tush push.
I, I mean,
I
I
just
see what
think
you're saying.
you see where
I
I was
don't
going
think
though. Like I feel
you
like
don't
the
think
hype
Hurts
for
has
Yes,
Saquon
but
Hurts does
could
not have
but
fall off.
you
18
were
Hurts does not have
given the
18
reason.
touchdowns. Hurts
What?
does not have 18 touchdowns again this year. There's no way. That was like his ceiling on rushing touchdowns. So I'm gonna say that you take away half of those. Because I don't think they'll be running it as much. I don't think they'll be running Hurts as much because they don't want their franchise guy just getting absolutely just bullied in that
Corey,
high.
how many touchdowns do you think he had?
Nick
no,
said 18. So
He
he's
had
saying this
15.
upcoming
yeah,
year.
He
he
had
had
15.
15. Okay, so I
15.
still think that's a max ceiling rushing touchdowns. Like, so he gets to 10, he gets to 8. I
He had
mean,
13 the year before.
okay.
I also think CMC's receiving upside is higher than Saquon's.
I don't know. Regardless, I think Saquon's a huge boost. I take him fringe one.
I'm
Yeah.
so bullish on him.
I take him over Kyron Williams.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I already said I was kind of out on Kyron if he's going to be at the end of the first, so I wouldn't take him there anyway. I would rather take AJ Brown than Saquon on the same team, like easily. Okay. Next, we got the Giants who got Devin Singletary. And to me, I don't know, like what
I think the Giants are such a great lock for the number one pick next year. They got rid of their best player, Saquon, debatably one of their best defenders, and Xavier McKinney. They
Yeah, but
suck.
they're improving.
But I don't want to talk
They're
about the
either going to
Giants. They're
have
trash.
Neighbors or Joe Alt. So either their offensive line is going to be pretty solid, or they're going to finally have a wide receiver one. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be like great, but I mean they made the
They've
playoffs the year before last.
they've missed on so many linemen. Like
Joe
they're not.
Alt is a miss.
I
Well, they didn't
that,
draft him yet,
No,
so
I'm
yeah.
saying like if they did, like if the Chargers don't
Well,
take him,
I'm just saying, like in the past, like they,
Evan
Evan Neal,
Neal.
like yeah, like their offensive line has
Andrew
been in
Thomas.
shambles. So like Singletary, it's a mute. I don't see.
I actually
I mean,
don't think they need another tackle at all.
I'm just saying, like in general, like we thought Singletary was dead, and like he had like a pretty good year in Texas, but like I don't see him doing any better in like the Giants organization. Like
Yeah,
I
but
think
we
it's
also
a.
have to take draft capital and like
I understand we have
if
to like play the game of
Singletary
chips.
is gonna go, I think no one's gonna want to draft this guy. And to me, it's not like I love his situation, but he's probably gonna be the main back on a team, and no one's gonna want to take him. He's just not a guy that everyone's like excited to click. And usually I'm gonna be overweight on guys like that. So that's just my stance. Another guy to perfect ad for zero running back teams. He's gonna get you points.
5 points.
I don't think so. But that's just that. Those are my thoughts on Singletary. Okay, we got the Commanders, another running back situation. I just think it kind of hurts them both. Like, so you got first it looked like Brian Robinson was going to be a great fantasy pick when Antonio Gibson leaves, and now Eckler's there. So, I mean, I don't know. It's the Commanders. They're already not like they're gonna have Drake May or Jaden Daniels, so like that's an upgrade from what they had, most likely. But I don't know.
I think it hurts Brian Robinson, and we'll see. I mean, wide receivers, I think will benefit. Probably Scary Terry might be debatably relevant again. So we'll see.
because
I don't.
I think they're really like Brian Robinson still. So like, I can't imagine Eckler having a role outside of just more of like a third down guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the running back situation there is 10-foot pole for me. I think it
Yeah,
just you don't
that's
know.
about him.
It's the Commanders organization. You just never know with them. I'm surprised they're still holding on to Scary Terry. To be honest, I don't know why they didn't dump him or get trade capital for him. But that's regardless of the point. He's on the team, barring some trade during the drafts. But yeah, running back situation. It's two-headed monster. Brian Robinson, I think, is the better back right now. Eckler's at the end of his career. Like PB said, I think he's just a third down back, and Brian Robinson will probably be the one too. But
I just
that's
think, yeah, think Eckler's name value will end up putting him higher than he should, and Brian Robinson is not going to get the third down work. Okay, Lions, nothing to talk about. Packers, Josh Jacobs, it's got to be a positive for him.
Yeah, definitely a positive for Josh Jacobs. Kind of questionable move in my opinion. I mean, I don't know why they let Aaron Jones go and go in division at that. I don't know.
Probably just an age thing. That's like the only thing I could point to. But I mean, I don't think AJ Dillon's coming back. He was just a
You know, he's not.
project that never worked out. So I mean,
yeah,
I think Josh Jacobs is good. I think it helps the Packers a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like Josh Jacobs here.
Yep. Okay, and then we got the Vikings. They get rid of Kirk Cousins. Sam Darnold is now their, current QB1. Then they have Aaron Jones who went there. So to me, it's a negative for Jefferson. Who knows,
Huge
he may
negative.
get traded, but it's a current negative for him, in my opinion. Negative for Jordan Addison, negative for TJ Hawkinson, who's going to be injured. Like I'll have zero Hawkinson in fantasy this year. Um, Aaron Jones, I mean, they still seem to like Ty Chandler a lot. So I think it's going to be a committee field, and I think Aaron Jones's name value will put him too high in drafts. I'm kind of out on everyone.
Yeah, I could see Justin Jefferson falling below like Tyreek Hill now.
Oh no, there's no, he has to like he's got to
Yeah.
be in the back half of the first round now. You don't think you can take Jefferson ahead of Chase, CMC, Tyreek,
Yeah.
CD Lamb, like Brees Hall, no way.
Yeah. So
I will have Aaron Jones only in DFS when he plays the Packers. It's the only time I'll play him.
And
Other
the
than that,
Cowboys.
I
Packers
don't
and
want to touch.
Cowboys.
Yeah, Packers and Cowboys. It's the only time I'll play Aaron Jones. But other than that, I think it's that situation up north is bad.
Yeah. All right. Next we got Chicago. They get DeAndre Swift, Gerald Everett. To me, we expect Caleb to be there. So Khalil Herbert is probably gone, right? Like Roshan they drafted him. Like I can't imagine them having three backs.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a committee no matter what. So Swift, he was getting drafted. What did you say, the seventh round last year? Something around
Yeah, it
there.
was probably around sixth, seventh, and now he'll probably be, I don't know, around the same. I think he'll be a sixth, seventh round pick.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go that high on him. He's going to be in a committee no matter who's left back there.
Roshan, yeah, I think they're gonna want to use him more.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously the Bears O line is not what the Eagles O line is, and you got to imagine, assuming they take Caleb, they're going to want to be throwing the ball. So I think it's a down trend for Swift. The Everett signing's kind of meh.
Yeah,
And
because that Everett to me just hurt Komet, so it's like they just kind of I probably don't want a Bears tight end.
yeah, I honestly don't see them featuring Everett a ton. I know they paid him, but I don't see him seeing the field a whole lot.
No, they just paid Komet. So
yeah.
I think
No
it's just a
Darnell
mixture.
Mooney either.
Yeah.
Oh
He's
yeah,
gone.
Mooney leaving, that just helps, DJ Moore, and then they could be most likely taking another receiver, like whether it's Roma Dunze or
Yeah.
I would like
okay.
to see them go with with that ninth pick, the center out of Oregon. I think someone said he's the best center prospect like in the past decade.
Yeah, Oregon
So,
State. I don't know how to say his last name, but it's a lot
yeah,
of
I was just sticking with the guy from Oregon.
yeah.
Um, but apparently
Typically,
he's
that's
really
what
good.
happens.
I think that would be really beneficial to DeAndre Swift if they go that route and then get a wide receiver in the second. Um, is what I would think would be optimal for fantasy production in that offense.
Yeah, if you're taking Caleb at 1, you're taking a blocker at 8 or your 9th spot.
Yeah, right.
You're not taking a
I
wide
don't know. I still think there's a very good chance they're gonna get like someone like Rome.
I'd be
It's
shocked
in the
if they don't
mix,
get
but
I'd be shocked if they not. I mean, it'd be an embarrassing to do not to protect your franchise guy that you're gonna
yeah, if
pay him.
Fashanu's there from
I think their offensive line was way underrated last year. I just think Fields sucks, but that's just
It
my
was
opinion.
they were better than what the consensus was for sure. They weren't good by any means, but they were better than what they were thought to be.
I mean, if Caleb
Yeah.
wants to run around for 15 seconds behind the offensive
And
line,
this offensive line class is also very deep, so I think the Bears could still get Rome and still get other guys later in the draft. Okay. Next, we got the Saints. Nothing to talk about. Bucks. Nothing to talk about. The Panthers get Deontay Johnson, and it's so funny that Corey's initial reaction was, "I feel so bad for Deontay." Blah blah blah. Like the Steelers and Kenny Pickett, like he had so much going for him with Pittsburgh. This will be like the biggest boost to his career, even with a horrible quarterback like Bryce Young.
no, I said the Panthers organization verbatim is a terrible organization.
You said you felt bad for Deontay, but
Yeah,
why would
because
you
he's
feel
going from
bad
the
for a
Steelers,
guy?
because he's going from the Steelers, which is a franchise, great organization to play for, to the Panthers, who don't know how to run an organization. Fantasy wise, yes, I see him being obviously the only guy there going to be targeting, and he's a reception machine. But if the Panthers can't figure it out, like I think I mean, yes, he becomes the number one guy there, but like at what cost? Like,
I
I mean,
will have so much Deontay Johnson in
Me
fantasy this
too.
year. And I absolutely hate Bryce Young.
I mean, Thielen was pretty good at the beginning of the season, and then obviously he's like 48 years old and slowed down after like week 7. But I think Deontay could actually sustain that for a whole year and
If
be a
if
pretty
Adam
good
Thielen,
fantasy player.
if Adam Thielen can do what he was doing when
Right.
early in the year when his legs were more fresh, and I mean Deontay Johnson is going to have a crazy year in my opinion. He
Yeah,
gets he
he's gonna have nutty
gets
volume.
open so much. Like that's just what he does. He gets open. And I don't know. I don't know how I'm not gonna
He
just
could have
have
like 200 targets.
yeah, I'm gonna be all over Deontay. Okay. Next, we got the Falcons, one of the biggest fantasy, I think, as a whole for a team, they were the biggest beneficiary of any team in the league from the one signing of Kirk Cousins. You get Pitts, you get London, you get Bijan, all massively, they all get a massive bump from Kirk Cousins being there. And I'm going to be overweight on all of them, that entire offense. They get to play in a dome. Like, I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know.
Saints
I think
twice.
Saquon was the biggest winner of free agency so far, and I think the second for me, I'm personally highest on Drake London. He showed a lot of really great plays last year with an absolutely terrible quarterback. So I think he could have one of those breakout years that launch him into rounds 1 and 2 in the upcoming season. So I'm going
I
to
mean,
try to
I
get as
think,
much
and
Drake
what
London
about
stock
this
as
season?
possible this year.
Where would you take Drake London this year? I'll tell you where I'll take him.
I think he's going to be slightly overlooked, but I think he'll be someone I'm most confident will outperform his ADP. I could
What,
see
so
him
what,
going in
what
the
do you think
third
is,
round,
do you think he'll be a third round pick? That's kind of where I think he will be. But like, I would take Drake London
end of
in
second.
like the second
Yeah.
easily.
I mean, we know what Justin Jefferson did. I think Drake London's awesome. Like he's so good at winning jump balls. He'll finally be a good red zone threat.
Yeah,
Kyle Pitts might be
I'm
great too,
looking at
but
early ADP, like, obviously things are going to adjust. This is just using like ADP of drafts that are occurring right now on Underdog, which, you know, definitely the sharpest market out there because it's the only place people are drafting. And he's for sure, like, I think there's a good chance on Underdog he ends up being a second round pick by the time, July, is here and stuff like that. But I think in season long, people he still might be a third round pick because it's just such a big
yeah,
jump from last year. But I mean, Keenan
they should
Allen,
have an amazing offense.
Malik
Bijan is
Neighbors.
a huge winner in losing Arthur Smith as a coach. Like, let's not overlook Bijan either. I think he could be a
Oh
top
yeah, or
10
he's a
running
first
back
round pick.
easy.
Bijan's a first round pick.
Yeah. So
We also we have to see how Kirk Cousins comes back. I mean, he's coming off an Achilles tail. I know the Achilles tear is not what it used to be, but and it's not like Kirk Cousins is a mobile quarterback by any means whatsoever. So if he can progress back and you're seeing signs of him be able to throw the ball and being able to move around in the pocket a little bit like quarterback should, then yeah, everyone should be boosted. I mean they get the boost regardless. But you got two sides of the coin here. Like anything happens to Kirk Cousins, I mean we're back to what we were looking at last year with Ritter,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
and
this is
obviously
all.
injuries happen, and you can't play that and say like I would take Drake London third round as well, early third. I think that's where he should go. Um, Now I know PB wants to talk about Pitts. Like I mean,
So
you'd
yeah,
hope.
Bijan I think's the first. London I think is a second. Like that's where I would take them. I think Pitts. I don't think his ADP will get out of control just because people have been kind of burned by him.
Not kind
And
of.
so, well, in his first year, they weren't. Like
Okay, but
maybe
last
based
year,
off of where they were drafting him a little bit because his first year people were excited. He still got 1,000 yards and everything, but he's always gone a little bit higher. So yeah, where he's drafted, he probably has burned people. But I think he's not going to get out of control. I think he's going to be like a fifth, sixth round pick, and like to me, he should be a fourth or like a fourth round pick. So I will have tons of Pitts.
we shall see. I mean, yes, it's a boost. I'm not gonna say it's not a boost because it has to be.
Like, where would you rank? So, like, I'm going to name some tight ends that would you rather have? Okay, Laporta. Like,
Yes,
okay, Kelsey.
yes,
No to me. Trey McBride.
Pitts.
Pitts probably.
That one would be really close for me, but still probably Pitts. Mark Andrews,
Pitts.
Pitts.
Andrews
George Kittle.
probably Pitts.
Okay. Brock Bowers.
Depends
See
where he
where he
goes.
goes.
Okay. Njoku.
Pitts.
Kincaid.
Pitts. I mean,
Okay,
now you're
so
good. You're getting
yeah, no,
fringes
right. So
on
right now, like Corey
top
basically
five.
had him at his. So he had Laporta, Kelsey, and Andrews. So you have him as your tight end four.
Yeah, I mean, as of right
And
now,
that's in tight end four. Currently the tight end four is going right around 53. Their ADP is right around
yeah,
53, which is the early fifth.
yeah, that's where I take him at.
Yeah, I would take so. I mean, if there's a good chance that you'd be with the field or over the field on Pitts. So I'm glad you finally are on board the Pitts train.
Okay. Now you're just putting words in my mouth.
No, I have
You
to. If you're
you
going to
you're
be
just
above
getting
the
the
field,
opportunity to do that. I mean,
Corey, I have to. That's what I'm just
I
saying. What
take
you
Jelani
said.
Woods over Pitts. We're going by pure athleticism.
Okay, Jelani Woods is now ahead of Pitts. Okay, but I'm glad finally we got there, Corey. Corey is on the
Yeah.
Pitts train in
Not
2024.
on the pitch train.
You are. You're going to take him ahead of everyone else, according to you. I'm
All right,
glad we
who we
got.
got next, PB?
Yeah. All right. Last division. There's nothing really to talk about. It's 49ers, nothing. Cardinals, nothing. Rams got Colby
Oh,
Parkinson.
oh,
Um, doesn't sound like the Cardinals are going to have Hollywood Brown.
Nick, we're talking, we don't know. Like, we were just talking about moves that have been made. There's still a chance he is a Cardinal. So, like, we don't want to, let's not speculate on that.
All right.
It'll seem more outdated. Uh, 49ers, nothing. Yeah. Cardinals, nothing. Rams get Colby Parkinson. Higby's gone. It's going to be like Davis Allen, I think is his name, and Parkinson. So it's like I don't know. To me, I'll have a little bit of Parkinson at the end of drafts because they did pay him 3 years, 23 million. That's I mean, that's some money right there. So
price
like
tag.
and he's at like that age, that like breakout year, age 25. Like he's a profile of a guy at the tight end position that I'm going to have in drafts in best ball at the end of drafts 100% with Stafford as the quarterback. Um so Colby Parkinson boost, and then the guy Parkinson left Seahawks, Disley's gone, Parkinson's gone, and the Seahawks decide to pay Fant nearly what 10 million, 11 million a year, and gonna have Fant. It'll be my favorite late round target. Like, I've loved his profile since he came out of the draft. He's finally at that age, where tight ends typically break out, and then you get rid of Disley, get rid of Parkinson. I just love Fant.
A lot of mouths to feed there.
Yeah, that is the biggest worry with him, but I still like the profile.
I'm nothing on Fant, just neutral.
Neutral. Okay. Didn't get a boost at all from from the money he got.
Okay,
And
you can give him a one uptick on my book.
season long, you're not like that's more of a best ball again, not season long. But I think that wraps up all of the fantasy relevant free agent signings. Um, yeah, is there anything else you guys to add? The videos that we have coming would be we did the quarterback rankings for the NFL draft, and we're still going to do running back, receiver, and tight end. So look out for those. You guys have it. My voice is like going. Does have anything else to add?
Not a
All
Pitts
good.
guy yet.
Not a bad Corey, as if with his own words, he is a Pitts guy. Or based on not his words, but his actions. Okay, that'll do it for this episode. And we'll see you next time. Please leave a like and please subscribe.